Well, for most of us over the age of 35, millennials remain sort of a mystery. But you're about to meet a man who's cracked the mystique of what he calls the passion generation. And he knows what he's talking about because he's one of them.
Millennials are probably the least understood group of our day, and the gap between generations is only growing wider. Meet Grant Skeldon. 3 years ago, he founded Initiative Network, an organization that reaches young people when he was only 26 years old. Grant says he not only knows about the problems with his peers, but he's got the solutions too. In his book, The Passion Generation, Grant gives us the foresight to learn from what he calls the most cause-oriented generation and how we can equip them to engage in the greatest mission of all.
Well, please welcome to the 700 Club, Grant Skeldon. Welcome to the show, Grant.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You are a millennial. Please define, for those of us who may not know, exactly what is a millennial. What is the age group that we're talking about here?
Yeah, so someone born between 1980 to 2000 is the Y generation, and then Z generation is actually coming up behind them, so that's anyone in high school.
So millennials, the cutoff, if you're over 37, you're no longer a millennial.
I believe so, yeah.
Something like that.
Xer, an X generation.
Okay, so 20s and 30s is millennials. What do you think is most misunderstood about your generation, the millennials?
I think, the reason I call it the passion generation, I was actually going to call the book The Millennial Malfunction, but people didn't think it was that positive.
No.
But there is a malfunction of communication. I felt like I called it that because the American dream is kind of provide a better life for your kids and even for yourself.
Right.
And sometimes that can be pursuing provision. But I feel like this generation, we're seeing a massive decline of just pursuing some job or career that's going to make money. We're seeing a lot of young people pursue jobs and careers that will make a difference. But sometimes you got to make money so that you can make a difference. And so I think parents sometimes push provision while young adults are trying to pursue passion. And it's really creating, I think, job hopping. The average millennial is on the trajectory to have 14 jobs by the age of 40.
Whoa.
And I think it's because they have anxiety of seeing their friends always pursuing their passions on social media, which in some ways has created OCD in so many ways, which would be obsessive comparison disorder.
Well, so why are millennials, why do you think that they are the passion generation?
I think that one of my favorite things about, even misunderstood about millennials, is I think this generation is tired of just going to church. I think they want to be the church. I think they want to not just show up to an event where sometimes I joke that a church sometimes gets dwindled down to two people doing two things for about 2 hours.
Yeah.
And so you ask someone, how was church? They'll say, worship was awesome. You ask someone, how's church? Oh, the preaching was awesome. But if you really think about church, we are the church, the people are the church. And so as you see this cause-oriented generation, they're actually leaving the cause-oriented organization, the church. And I believe the church is the hope of the world, but we've got to get back to that cause.
So millennials, they want something more than just the status quo of what the other generations have had. They're looking for that deeper meaning of life.
Yeah. Now, I do think they can sometimes pursue it in their own wisdom, which is passion, but sometimes it might be a passion generation, but a loose cannon. I liken millennials to Peter sometimes. He cuts people's ears off. He's falling asleep. He's correcting Jesus. And even sometimes he's getting called Satan. And so I'm not saying millennials with passion alone. That's why I desperately believe that my generation with all its passion needs older generation with all their wisdom. I think the enemy wants to divide us, but we've got to start to unite each other.
And that brings me to my next question, because you talk a lot about the importance of discipleship.
Yeah.
And we don't really do that as much as we think we do we? But you said it was very important in your own life, being discipled.
Yeah, Wendy, I've actually found that the most influential young 20-somethings, if I meet a 20-something, I was just yesterday, I was in California with all these 20-somethings, and if I see someone who's 23 and they have a huge business, or 25 and they have a huge church, every single time it's because they were mentored, or they were discipled at a young age. I've never met an influential 20-something that just got there with their own wisdom.
Well, what does effective discipleship actually look like?
That's good. That's a great question. I always want to differentiate mentorship and discipleship. To me, mentorship is if Jesus said, come and meet with me, and said to Peter, hey, let's meet once a week for 3 years. But he didn't do that. He said, come and follow me. And so the beauty of discipleship is it's not adding something to your calendar. It's including someone in your calendar. And so it's allowing someone, I say, if you're listening, I would say, include someone in your work life, or maybe in your church life, or your personal life, or your family life. And I give a lot of guidance to that in the book.
Well, where do you think millennials have failed the older generation? Because, I mean, millennials do get criticized a lot. The older generation doesn't feel respected. Where do you think millennials have maybe fallen short?
Man, yeah, my generation has fallen short a lot. I would say in showing honor to the generation that went before me. I think that my mentor really gave me a culture of honor towards generations before us. I don't think we're always the best of actually seeking discipleship or seeking mentorship. Sometimes we can be like judges where we're just doing what is right in our own eyes and trying to figure out life. I say that we're like Lord of the Flies, young people just growing up on an island, making their own rules. It's not working for us. And so showing honor, seeking wisdom, and even apologizing, because we have fallen short a lot ourselves.
What do you think the church can do, Grant, to get millennials more involved?
Okay, so I actually wanted to show you this. I have a campaign for what I think we should do. It's a red hat.
Oh, dear.
It's not Make America Great Again. It's actually simply Make the Commission Great Again.
Wow.
And I believe that Jesus specifically chose his last words, which should be our first priority. And he said, go and make disciples. And so I believe that we're doing a lot of teaching, we're doing a lot of baptizing, we're doing a lot of the things in the Great Commission, but we're not all making disciples. And as long as we neglect this cause, I think we'll lose the most cause-oriented generation in the world today.
All right, so are you wearing this when you travel?
I actually don't, because people, I feel like I got to show people, hey, that's not what you think.
You know what? I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid.
Make the commission great again.
Wait, it's crooked. Okay, why is it crooked on me? Is my head crooked?
No, you're good.
Okay,
you're great.
so I want to make the commission great again.
Yes.
All right, if I'm not afraid and I'm not a millennial, then you need to wear this now.
No, there's no way. You guys have worked too hard to make my hair look good.
All right. Well, Grant's book is called The Passion Generation. It's available wherever books are sold. You can also hear more from Grant in our social interview on Facebook. Interesting. I wasn't afraid to get my hair messed up, but Grant is. Okay. So
maybe we're an image-driven generation.
So just go to facebook.com/700club.